coming up on your DC News Now at 6. Back inside for the president, how Joe Biden once again has tested positive for COVID-19 so shortly after leaving quarantine. And a violent weekend in Washington, D.C. We'll have a look at the shootings happening across the district.
And the weekend has started off very, very nice. No storms in the forecast, a dry evening ahead. Can we complete the trifecta here and get a couple of good days ahead? We'll talk about that coming up in my full forecast.
Good evening, I'm Max Marcella. We're going to begin tonight with breaking news out of Northwest, where police are investigating two possibly connected shootings, one involving a police officer. The one involving the officer happened around 4 p.m. in Northwest. According to our contributor, DC Real-Time News, at least one person has been injured, including a 15-year-old male. The first shooting took place on Madison Street in Northwest DC. The second, which was the one involving a police officer, took place just a few blocks away on Georgia Ave and Longfellow Street. The Metro Police Department is still investigating to see if there have been any more injuries. We have a crew on the scene right now, and we will continue to keep you updated as we learn more. And also breaking tonight, President Biden, 3 days after leaving self-isolation, he is heading right back after he tested positive for COVID-19 once again. The White House calls this a rare rebound, saying the president found out he had COVID once again shortly after announcing that he would be visiting Michigan this Tuesday. Biden will return to self-isolation, even though White House physician Kevin O'Connor says the president is showing no symptoms and seems to be in top health. Biden has been taking Paxlovid, an antiviral drug created by Pfizer, which has a 5 to 8% chance of a COVID rebound. Now, according to the White House COVID specialist, following CDC recommendation, Biden will self-isolate for 5 days, at which point he will be tested again. And our top story, it was another violent evening in Washington, D.C. We're tracking several different shootings as we come on the air, and we'll pick up our coverage of the district violence in Alabama Avenue Southeast. One man was found shot dead. A woman was shot as well near the 4800 block of Alabama Avenue Southeast. That according to DC News Now contributor Larry Calhoun of DC Real-Time News. That happened last night. Police have not given an official update on this one quite yet, and once they do, we will get you up to speed on what we find out. More violence in the district. On Valley Avenue Southeast on Friday night, a man was found dead. Police are investigating this as a homicide. We've reached out to MPD about the search for the killer and once again have not learned new details. Also in Southeast, a triple shooting investigation still underway. Officers say two men and a woman were shot on MLK Avenue on Friday evening near MLK Junior Elementary School. This all happened before noon. We're told the shots may have been fired from a white car. Meanwhile, police are also investigating a shooting just one block over. That one also happened early yesterday, and it sent one man to the hospital. We have not heard of any arrests at this time. Now, with the number of shootings growing by the day, D.C. police say it could take their investigators weeks to figure out just how many suspects are responsible for the string of violent crime. And tonight, community members, they are in the district, and they are calling for more transparency and police accountability. It comes after an officer shot and killed a man at the wharf earlier this month. DC News Now's Marielle Carbone covers the district for us, and she has this story.
The issue is communal. The issue is systemic.
And it's an issue local organizers want to see change. Systematic racism, they say, is happening in policing.
This is nothing new to MPD. MPD has been violently and overly policing our neighborhoods for a long time now.
The demand comes as police investigate two incidents. Last week, police released this video of an officer-involved shooting. Commander Jason Bagshaw, while off duty, fatally shot Lazarus Wilson, a black man who is armed, pointing a gun. Friday,
he's eating it! Open your mouth or I'm going to spray you.
MPD released this video from June where a white officer puts his knee on the neck of a black man he's arresting. Police say they witnessed the man buy drugs and were trying to get them out of his mouth. Both actions are considered serious uses of force by the department.
We are calling for the transformation of policing in our society so that it no longer serves as an agent of anti-black racism. and so that black people are no longer targeted, harassed, and murdered by police.
According to MPD, neck restraints are against both city and department policy. The officer's actions are being investigated by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So is the shooting, which Taylor says didn't have to happen.
This system is not built for black people. Lazarus Wilson could have had a gun, and Lazarus Wilson could still be here going in front of the judge and jury.
Now, the use of ghost guns has become a problem across the country. Over in Prince George's County, the Crime Solvers Unit, they're utilizing a new program to help get more of those weapons off the streets. Our Marie Sase covers Prince George's County, and she shows us how it works.
We want the illegal guns and the illegal use of guns off the street. It's captivating our communities and holding our communities hostage.
Finding ways to create a safer community. That's what William Steen, Chair of Board of Directors for Prince George's County Crime Solvers, says they hope to do with their new illegal gun reward program.
Our Board of Directors came up with a subcommittee to implement this specific program, which is specifically geared for obtaining information on either illegal guns, such as the ghost guns that you mentioned, or information on the illegal use of guns.
The process is simple. You submit a tip anonymously to the phone number through their app or on their website. The information is handed over to law enforcement, and you can receive up to $2,000.
We're a board of directors of, residents and business owners and community activists, and so coming together and doing this is just our part in helping everyone pitch in to create a safer community.
As of June, Prince George's County Police has taken more than 800 guns off the streets. It's not confirmed how many of them were ghost guns. Steen says it will take a team effort to create safer neighborhoods.
There need to be a number of different avenues coming together in order to, to curb this, including learning how to mediate and negotiate issues other than grabbing a firearm.
But the big question is, will this reduce the number of ghost guns on the streets?
We can only hope, but to sit on the sidelines and do nothing and speculate and hope, and without doing any action, I think is an inaction in itself.
Reporting in Prince George's County, Maryland, I'm Marie Sase, DC News Now.
Now over in Rockville, Maryland, the Rockville police need your help in finding 3 boys suspected in the killing of a protected goose last Sunday. Police say the killing happened in Lake Newmark around 8 p.m. Witnesses of the killing heard the sounds of a distressed goose and noticed 3 boys between the ages of 12 and 15 swimming away from the body of the deceased goose. Now, Canadian geese are protected under federal and state law. If you have any information or video of the suspects, the Rockville police asks that you contact them. It's a humanitarian crisis, and it's happening right here in the district. That's how D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is describing the situation right now as thousands of migrants from the southern border states of Texas and Arizona are being bused to the nation's capital.
We see it with people who are coming to the United States from Ukraine. So there is a robust federal response that helps people with transportation on to their final destinations, and in even getting them a legal route to work.
In that same press conference, Mayor Bowser reiterated she is calling on the National Guard and federal government for help, and she only expects the number of migrants arriving to grow. Viral video obtained by DC News Now shows a police officer snatching signs from climate change protesters. That all happened at Thursday night's congressional baseball game at Nats Park. Take a look. DC News Now was there as protesters swarmed the game demanding President Biden declare a climate emergency. The protesters there, they also want lawmakers to stop projects that include fossil fuels. People on social media questioned the officer's actions in this video you're seeing right there, but according to the National's official policy, banners and signs that contain political affiliation are not allowed in the park. And now for some health news. As cases rise in the district and across the country, the D.C. Health Department is opening up another monkeypox vaccination clinic. This one will be in Ward 8, which is in Southeast. The clinic opens this upcoming Monday, but appointments are already open. So far, there have been 214 confirmed cases of the monkeypox virus in the district. Over 7,000 doses of the vaccine have been given out in D.C. Another 2,000 more have signed up to get their shots. The first confirmed deaths from monkeypox in Europe have been found in Spain. The first death was reported yesterday, the same day as the first reported monkeypox death in Brazil. The second happened today. In both cases, young men were the ones who died from the virus. Spain's health ministry says that there are over 4,000 cases of the monkeypox in the country, 120 receiving hospital care. Now, there is still so much pain at the pump. Many people now choosing a different route, and they're going with public transportation instead. Now, there's a program in Maryland's largest county that's helping commuters with their monthly travel expenses. Cheyenne Corinne covers Montgomery County for us, and she shares that story.
The Fair Share program offers tax-free reimbursements to local businesses that help employees cover the expense of commuting to work.
As we all know, costs are going up for everybody, and so costs for commuting have been going up precipitously.
Commuters who get to work by public transit or van pool can get up to $280 back a month. MCDOT says with gas prices so high, they're trying to find new ways to make transportation less expensive and more convenient.
For somebody who was driving, that can significantly impact the cost of their commute. So looking at other options just to make their commute more affordable, lends itself to this program.
The program also benefits employers because not only does the state give them a tax credit, but it helps with recruitment and retention efforts.
We're in a situation now where many employers are really desperate for employees, for workers, and this can help broaden the reach of where they can recruit.
MCDOT also is trying to get the word out about this program now because starting Monday, the ride-on service is reinstating fares, but it is cutting the price. Riders will pay $1 instead of $2. Reporting in Montgomery County, Maryland, I'm Cheyenne Corinne for DC News Now.
All right, good evening, everyone. Currently in D.C., we're looking at about the temperature holding into the middle 80s here, about 86 degrees, as you'll see, out towards the Washington Monument. And as far as other temperatures and highs today, well, they were also into the 80s, like Manassas at 86, very common number. Waldorf at 86, Lexington Park, Fredericksburg. Leesburg was at 85, Winchester at 84. And also Woodstock coming in at 84 degrees. So with that being said, what do we have with the satellite view? Again, not bad. We have some clouds drifting in and out of the area. But as far as precipitation is concerned, and certainly storms, we don't have that in the forecast for the rest of the afternoon and the evening hours. So enjoy whatever plans you have outside this evening. However, tomorrow, high pressure that was with us today, that will continue to move up towards Boston's way. That's going to allow for a weak system to move in from the west and bring us an opportunity of seeing some afternoon showers and rumbles of thunder as well. Not looking at severe weather, but still nonetheless some showers and storms, not quite as beautiful as what we have right now. So for the barbecue forecast from 6 p.m., 86 degrees, 7 p.m., 85, 8 p.m., 83 degrees if you're barbecuing that late. Maybe you are, who knows. Partly cloudy skies being seen across the entire region, and actually a very comfortable night as far as tonight's muggy meter. We're not looking at oppressive or stifling heat here this evening. What about the weather headlines? Well, it's going to be a dry and quiet night ahead. Then a warm front arrives on Sunday, as I showed you. We have some precipitation moving back into the forecast. Again, some thunder showers are in the forecast for your Sunday. Not a washout, though, by any stretch of the imagination. Another heat wave. Yeah, that's going to arrive as well. We'll talk about the timing of that heat wave and show you that 7-day forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Scott, thank you. Well, still to come on your news at 6, another step forward in the fight for gun control, but there are some challenges in the Senate. The latest on the passage of the assault weapons ban and some of the challenges it still faces. And coming up, the body count continues to rise in Kentucky as communities try and put the pieces back together. A look at that next. Welcome back to DC News now at 6. President Joe Biden rejecting claims that the U.S. is in a recession, despite a federal report showing the economy is shrinking for the second time in a row last quarter. Our Raquel Martin has the story.
Republicans say Americans should brace themselves. After Thursday, a new federal report showed the economy shrank for the second quarter in a row.
Democrats have plunged America into a recession.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell blames President Biden's policies for soaring inflation he says is at the root of the problem.
Democrats inherited an economy that was primed for an historic comeback and promptly ran it straight into the ground.
While typically economists define a recession as 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline, the White House isn't sold.
We're not in a recession.
Thursday, President Joe Biden said considering record low unemployment and strong consumer spending, he believes the country is on the right track. He also says Congress is on its way to relieve Americans of inflation. Thursday, the House passed the CHIPS Act, a bipartisan manufacturing bill supporters say will bring consumer costs down. And now Democrats, led by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, are reviving key parts of the president's economic agenda, designed to lower prescription drug prices and shrink the federal deficit.
Not a Democrat bill. This is not a Republican bill. This is an American bill.
But no Republicans are on board. West Virginia Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito says Democrats' inflation-fighting bill
will fuel this fire of inflation even more.
Well, for the first time since 2004, the House of Representatives has passed legislation that would ban assault weapons in America. That tops our look at the stories making national headlines this week. Yesterday, a large cheer erupted on the House floor when Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced the bill's passage with a 217 to 213 vote. Most of it along party lines. 2 Republicans did vote for the bill, 5 Democrats opposed it. Now, if this legislation actually makes it to President Biden's desk, it would make it illegal to sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess many types of semi-automatic weapons and large-capacity magazines. Democrats argued this is the right move because these are the weapons used in recent mass shootings. Republicans say that this bill is just another way for Democrats to take guns from law-abiding citizens. But there is little chance of this bill passing the Senate. West Virginia lawmakers passed up the chance Friday to approve new legislation restricting access to abortions. Since the U.S. Overturned Roe v. Wade, the U.S. Supreme Court, that is, it would have been the first state to do so since then. The Republican-dominated Senate adopted its version of a bill along with some amendments, one of which removes criminal penalties for physicians who perform illegal abortions. But late Friday night, the House of Delegates declined to pass the Senate's amendments, instead asking for a conference committee which would iron out differences among the 2 chamber versions. Russia is considering a prisoner swap. That's according to ESPN. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced on Wednesday that the U.S. offered a deal to bring WNBA star Brittany Griner and another detained American, Paul Whelan, home. Russia's foreign minister says he's willing to discuss the offer. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is back in the headlines, this time for backing out of teaching a seminar at George Washington University's law school. The university supported the conservative justice's role on campus even after several student protests in opposition of the class. According to a university spokesperson, Justice Thomas informed GW Law that he is unavailable to teach co-teach a constitutional law seminar this fall. Thomas, who is 74 years old, has taught at the private school since 2011. He was supposed to lead the seminar with Judge Gregory Maggs of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces. Maggs was once a clerk in the Supreme Court to Thomas. There is a political fight going on right now between the Commonwealth of Virginia and the White House. Governor Glenn Youngkin, along with Virginia's Attorney General, are accusing President Joe Biden of holding money for school meals across the Commonwealth until certain LGBTQ protections are met for students. Capitol Bureau reporter Jackie DeFusco did some investigating to find out if these claims are true.
Well, it's not really clear right now if this claim is true. In the past, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has reportedly urged voluntary cooperation with its policy and promised to refer violations to the Department of Justice. But USDA not responding when asked today if they would withhold funding and in what circumstances. Money for school food at the center of the latest fight over LGBTQ policies. This after the USDA expanded its interpretation of an anti-discrimination law, now including sexual orientation and gender identity. The agency saying those who receive federal dollars for food and nutrition services would need to update policies and signage, as well as investigate discrimination allegations in line with the new guidance. In response, Attorney General Jason Miyares adding Virginia to a lawsuit with 21 other states to stop the changes, calling them unlawful. Miyares saying in a statement, quote, "The federal government is telling states that they must either pay for gender-neutral bathrooms and allow biological males to play women's sports, or they will not receive nutrition assistance for needy children." Governor Glenn Youngkin and 14 other governors doubling down in a letter to President Joe Biden, saying, quote, "Your administration would take lunch money away from our kids and grandkids in pursuit of a radical agenda." But U.S. Senator Tim Kaine says he was shocked by the AG's lawsuit, calling his comments misleading.
Doesn't have anything to do with athletes, doesn't have anything to do with, other aspects of education. And I think what schools are being asked to do is to certify that they're not going to discriminate against kids in the provision of school nutrition services. And of course they shouldn't.
Anthony Bellotti, a trans college student who helped craft Virginia's model policies for others like him at schools, says expanding discrimination protections could save lives in a group with high suicide rates.
They're playing with people's lives, and that's not fair. Trans people deserve to be more than political pawns.
Governor Youngkin and AG Miyares declining our interview request for the story. Reporting in Richmond, I'm Jackie DeFusco.
Well, in less than a month, Texas's trigger law will take effect. It will ban all abortions in the state with few exceptions. One California doctor is floating the idea of an abortion clinic at sea. Monica Madden explores if this would be legal, even if the vessel is on international waters.
There must be something different about the water.
San Francisco doctor Megan Autry is floating the idea of a floating abortion clinic by sea.
How can we come up with innovative and creative ways that will help provide patients access whose access is being taken away from them?
She thought up PROWESS, which stands for Protecting Reproductive Rights of Women Endangered by State Statutes.
So the thinking here is that if there is a floating clinic at sea, in international waters, Texas or Mississippi or Louisiana would not be able to prohibit or regulate abortions performed there.
PROWESS would be anchored in international waters along the Gulf of Mexico, offering a shorter journey to patients in southern border states where abortion is either already illegal or restricted.
She's asking for donations to raise $20 million to secure a vessel, retrofit it, and to operate it for the first 2 years, even if she gets that far.
Let's assume that these clinics get all the federal licensing they need. They're still not out of the woods yet.
Some legal experts are skeptical about if Autry could pull this off.
I think you could sue everyone as part of a conspiracy to provide abortions outside the state of Texas.
Due to a Texas law that makes it a civil offense to facilitate or perform an abortion after about 6 weeks.
We anticipate legal and security issues. There are many creative and innovative solutions.
That was Monica Madden reporting. If successful, Dr. Autry plans to also offer services like contraceptives and testing. Now, Dr. Autry wouldn't be the first person to offer a maritime reproductive health care clinic. A Dutch nonprofit called Women on Waves sails to countries where abortions are illegal to offer services to patients there. All right, coming up, we got Scott Sumner to tell us what's going on this weekend as far as the weather goes.
Well, I tell you what, from day one, looking good. It's in the books practically with our sun setting here in just 2 hours. But needless to say, we have had a nice Saturday. Will we continue that nice weather trend into Sunday? Well, stick around. I'll have the details coming up.